In 2003, Singapore Airlines built a flatbed in business class. The industry called it excessive. Within 5 years, everyone copied it. Within 10 years, Singapore Airlines had moved so far beyond flatbeds that their first class now includes a double bed, a wardrobe, and a door that closes. The rest of the industry is still catching up. 7 levels. Let's get into it. Level 1. Domestic First Class, the United States. The cabin at the front of the plane, with the wider seats and the free drinks and the feeling that you have arrived somewhere, even though you have not yet left the ground and the destination is a 2-hour flight away. Domestic first class in America occupies a fascinating position in the aviation hierarchy. It is called first class. It is priced accordingly, typically $300 to $800 more than economy on a domestic route, or approximately 50,000 to 80,000 miles on a points redemption that a certain type of person will spend 45 minutes optimizing on a Tuesday evening when they should be doing something else. The seat is wider, the legroom is more, a hot meal appears if the flight is long enough, and on shorter routes, a warm cookie arrives instead, which is a genuinely charming gesture that compensates for nothing in terms of actual luxury, but lands well regardless. Here's the honest assessment of domestic first class. It is economy class with better boarding order, a larger seat, and the psychological benefit of turning left when you board the aircraft instead of right. That psychological benefit is not nothing. Turning left produces a measurable improvement in the boarding experience that has nothing to do with the seat itself and everything to do with the fact that you passed through economy class and did not have to stop. For a certain type of traveler, the act of not stopping is worth the upgrade fee. Who flies domestic first class? The frequent flyer who was upgraded automatically because he has flown 80,000 miles this year and the algorithm rewarded his loyalty with 14C instead of 32B. The business traveler whose company allows first class on routes over 4 hours, who is on a 3-hour and 50-minute flight and quietly resents the policy. And the person celebrating something, a birthday, a promotion, a divorce that went better than expected, who decided that today was the day to sit in the front and have the warm cookie delivered to her specifically. Level 2. International Business Class marketed as first. British Airways Club World on older aircraft. Air France Business on their medium-haul fleet. The front cabin on a carrier that operates predominantly within a single region, flatbeds in most cases. A real meal, amenity kits, a dedicated check-in experience. All of it genuine and well executed. Who flies here? The business traveler whose company pays for the front cabin on long-haul routes and accepts what's available. The points redeemer who found a sweet spot on a partner airline and is thrilled with the result. The couple who splurged on an upgrade for their anniversary flight to Europe and will describe it as first class for the rest of their lives, because technically it was first class, and the meal was excellent, and who is anyone to argue? Level 3. Real international first class. The base product. The cabin where the term first class is earned rather than assigned. American Airlines Flagship First, Cathay Pacific First, Japan Airlines First Class. The products that represent a genuine tier above business class in privacy, space, service, and intentionality. A meal service timed to the passenger's preference rather than the galley's schedule. Priority boarding. Dedicated check-in. Lounge access to the flagship lounge, which is a real lounge with real food cooked to order, real showers, and real seating that does not require you to defend your territory with a carry-on bag. Prices starting around $3,000 to $6,000 for transatlantic routes, or $50,000 to $80,000 American Airlines miles at peak value. I break down systems like this every week. Subscribe if you want to follow along. Now back to it. Level 4. First class with a door. The point where the seat becomes a suite And the suite gets a door, and the door changes everything. Emirates First Class. Qatar Airways Q Suites, and the gold standard at this level? Singapore Airlines First Class Suites. Picture this. You board a Singapore Airlines A380. You turn left. You walk past business class, which is itself an extraordinary product that most airlines would be proud to call first class, and you arrive at a cabin with 6 suites. The seat converts to a full flat bed, 76 inches long, without disturbing the configuration of anything else in the suite. A personal wardrobe with wooden hangers, a personal minibar, a 24-inch monitor. The suite is approximately the size of a generous New York City bathroom, which sounds like a criticism until you remember that you are 38,000 feet above the Indian Ocean, traveling at 560 miles per hour. The wall has a panel. The panel controls the lighting, the temperature, the entertainment, and the Do Not Disturb indicator. You set your preferences. The suite responds. Level 5. The double bed. The moment first class stops being about one person having a good experience and starts being about 2 people having an experience together that would not be possible anywhere else at 38,000 feet. Singapore Airlines The Suite on the A380. The only commercial airline product in the world with a double bed as a standard configuration, 2 suites can be combined, the partition lowered, the beds joined, to create a double bed in the sky. The configuration requires pre-arrangement. It requires 2 adjacent suites booked by the same party. As if preparing a double bed 38,000 feet above the ground is a perfectly ordinary task that requires no comment. The couple in the suites disagrees about how ordinary it is, but they are too comfortable to argue about it. The price of 2 Singapore Airlines suites on a Singapore to London flight approaches $20,000 to $30,000 depending on route and timing. His partner considers it an excellent anniversary gift. The accounting remains flexible. Level 6. The private jet experience on a commercial aircraft. The products that blur the line between scheduled aviation and charter so completely that the distinction becomes almost philosophical. Lufthansa First Class Terminal in Frankfurt. Not a lounge, a terminal. A separate building, accessible only to Lufthansa First Class passengers and HON Circle members, that operates independently of the main airport. You arrive by car. You are met at the door. Your baggage is taken. You do not queue. You do not touch an escalator. You do not encounter the airport in any meaningful sense. When your flight is ready, a Porsche or Mercedes drives you across the tarmac directly to the aircraft stairs. You board last, which means you board into an already prepared cabin where your preferences have been communicated ahead of you, and the crew addresses you by name before you address them. The flight itself, which is an excellent first-class product with the Allegra seat on their newer aircraft, is enhanced by the context that precedes it. You arrive on the aircraft already at a level of ease that takes most first-class passengers 2 hours of flying to achieve. The terminal did the work. Who passes through here? Lufthansa's highest tier, requiring 600,000 status miles in 2 years, which is a number that suggests a relationship with airports that most people would describe as unhealthy, who has earned this access through a volume of flying that the rest of us prefer not to calculate. Level 7. Air France La Première. The most private first-class cabin on a commercial aircraft operated by a Western carrier. 4 suites on their Boeing 777. On a plane that carries over 200 passengers, 4 people sit in a cabin that takes up the same floor space as a reasonable Paris apartment, is decorated with the same materials and the same care, and receives a level of service that the airline has deliberately kept quiet about because the people who need to know, know. The cabin has been redesigned with full closing doors and a suite design that received immediate attention in aviation circles when it was unveiled. Then there is the category that commercial aviation cannot reach: the private terminal experiences. The Cathay Pacific The Pier First Class Lounge in Hong Kong. The Qantas International First Lounge in Sydney. Products that represent the best ground experience available on a commercial ticket, and that exist in many cases as the primary reason certain travelers choose an airline. And at the absolute apex, the airlines that operate exclusively for private charter on commercial standard aircraft. High flies, charter operations. Carriers that take a wide-body jet, configure it for 50 passengers instead of 300, and operate scheduled or charter routes for a client list that does not appear in any public booking system. The product is commercial aviation's infrastructure: the pilots, the regulatory framework, the route networks, combined with a passenger experience that a commercial carrier cannot offer because a commercial carrier has 200 other passengers to consider simultaneously. The flight was never the point. The experience of existing above the clouds, entirely on your own terms, is. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.